Okay. Hold on one second. It says this broadcast was deleted on Facebook. Try creating a new broadcast. Or just remove the destination from Facebook. So go check if we're live on Facebook real quick.
Okay. I don't see us. You broke it.
Weird. I probably can't do anything on Facebook because I'm not. We might be live on YouTube. I think we're live on YouTube. So let's just we'll go ahead because we do have some viewers.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Rick. I don't think we're live on Facebook. That's why we were confused. I got like a notification when I went and pressed live. But for those listening to us on YouTube, welcome to the Tuesday night Dynasty Heat Seekers stream. My name is Bryce Frazier. I'm your host, and down on the bottom of my little screen here, you can find me on Twitter at RotoHeatBryce. Not super active on Twitter at the moment, but very active on the Facebook page. Please go and follow RotoHeat Dynasty Fantasy Football on Facebook. Super active and great community. And we'll actually show you like some of the things we do on there because it's great for trades and things like that. And people are always putting their opinions. And we're taking some of the trades that are posted on the site and other trades, and we're going to talk about them here on the show. So there's a possibility one of your trades could be talked about tonight. And as always, I'm joined by the always reliable Anthony Leone. Leone, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad to be here. Happy to break down some trades, and there's a lot of good ones we have to go over. So I can't wait to get down in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste one of the trades here into the comment section so people can see it, and then we can also put it here on our screen. If you are listening to this in a podcast form, it is this first trade we're going to talk about is a Superflex tight end premium 12-team format. And this trade was actually made by me. This startup draft already happened this year, and somebody came with me to me. I own CeeDee Lamb, and he came with me for Deontay Johnson, a 23rd first, and a second for CeeDee Lamb. So, Leone, obviously, I am a bit in favor of the Deontay Johnson side. I'll talk about how my thoughts went to it when I got it. But what are your thoughts on this trade?
So, usually when a trade like this happens, I tend to go with the better player. In a situation, like this, it's like CeeDee Lamb is better than Deontay Johnson. He has a much better quarterback situation. So those are two things that, I really look at, especially when we're talking about a wide receiver for wide receiver top trade. And then the question here is, well, does the 23 first and 23 second make up that lost ground? I think it's a very even trade. I could see this going both ways. I could see, the first round pick you take next year not panning out, Deontay Johnson not being as good as CeeDee Lamb, and then obviously the second, obviously not panning out either. The 23 draft class is very deep. I mean, we're talking probably twice as good as this last rookie draft we just had. So there's a lot of opportunity to make up that ground with CeeDee Lamb. If one of those picks hits, all of a sudden, you probably will win the value on this trade specifically. So, it goes both ways. I would probably say Lamb is the safer play, but I do like the upside with Deontay Johnson. If you think that you have a lot of good wide receivers and you're looking to maybe improve your overall team, I think that's a good move too. So I see why you did the trade. I see why you went for Deontay Johnson and the picks. Do you have anything else you want to add on that trade that you don't agree with what I said?
Yeah, at the very end, I think I would almost reverse it, where I would say Deontay Johnson's safer and CeeDee Lamb would be more of like a higher ceiling risk, because Deontay Johnson's like, and I talked about it all last year on the Sunday shows with Rick, like the dude is like the king of getting like 15 points. Like every week, it seemed like he was like good for 15, like literally 15 points, like plus or minus 1 point. Where CeeDee Lamb was kind of almost like boom or bust last year. Deontay Johnson finished wide receiver 7, and CeeDee Lamb finishes wide receiver 15. He obviously comes in as the number 1 this year with Amari Cooper out. He's pretty much taken over that role anyway. I think most people can agree that he's probably a more talented receiver, especially after the catch. He does struggle with drops here and there, but him after the catch, he and Deebo Samuel are like probably my top 2 wide receivers after the catch. So he has that obviously big playability. But yeah, I don't really view him. I do view CD a little bit better, but I think the gap in picks was big or good enough for me to like lean at Deontay Johnson, because like you just mentioned, this 2023 class is supposed to be very, very stacked when it comes, especially at the QB and running back position, which we didn't really get this year. And there's a couple of wide receivers sprinkled in there as well. I just like one to mention would be like Jackson Smith and Jigba. People, Olave and Garrett Wilson just like are going like top 6, 7 at times in these startups, and Jackson Smith and Jigba blew them out of the water at Ohio State. So you'd imagine that he's going to be like have more value if he can continue that success, and I wouldn't see why he wouldn't. So yeah, I don't think the trade is like any sort of lopsided either way. I did happen to trade this to a Dallas Cowboy fan, and he originally just offered me Johnson in the first. So I got the second out of it as like a bonus, because I probably still would have took that first and Johnson, but I might have thought about it for a while.
Yeah, I guess my concern too with Deontay Johnson is, how are they going to be at quarterback with Pickett, and could be in for a lot of inconsistent weeks. I expect Lamb to be pretty rock solid all season, especially without Amari Cooper there now.
And who knows, Pickens could come in and be awesome. Like he was a top tier talent too, but he had some attitude and health issues that were concerning. And Rick made a good point here in the chat where he said you can get another player in season for that first. And that's so true, because, my team still could be contending, and then it gets to the end of the year and I'm like, go find a team that's not and get a guy like James Conner potentially. I own him in this league, but just someone of that caliber of who could probably be still there for a couple of years and be valuable immediately for a championship. So it's like I got 2 players and a championship for one.
And now you have 2 first to also play with too, if you need to make a move.
Yeah. And he did make that other point. I think I said that a few weeks ago, that any QB walking in now is probably going to be better than Big Ben just was. So
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I don't know about that. He was horrible. He was horrible.
I don't know about that.
So let me get this second trade in here, and for those listening, again, another trade that I did. I guess I should have started with this one, because I originally didn't have CeeDee Lamb after the draft. I had Justin Jefferson. So in this trade, I was giving away Justin Jefferson, Justin Fields, and a 23 first for CeeDee Lamb and Deshaun Watson. Spelled Deshaun Watson wrong in the chat. It's Desean. But either way, so I was more interested, obviously, and I was really wanting to try and get Deshaun Watson, and I knew the person that I was trading with here, liked Justin Jefferson a lot, wanted maybe his team might not be ready this first year, so he might be already looking to potentially like start a rebuild and play for the future. And so I want Deshaun Watson and CeeDee Lamb in this, and that's what I got. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, a lot of it kind of just depends on what happens with Watson, man. That is really risky. I think we talked about that, and maybe not specific to this trade, but just in general. Watson is really risky. And maybe he loses a whole season. We don't really know yet. And he just got slapped with another lawsuit today. I don't know how that's going to factor into things for this upcoming season. I know that is new information after you did this trade. I don't know if it would have changed anything, but at the same time, it's risky. It is risky. Justin Jefferson, I think, is better than CeeDee Lamb. I think you would agree with that. Does Justin Fields in the 23 first equal Deshaun Watson? That's the question. And that's the risky part of it. If everything's smooth sailing with Deshaun Watson, then I think the CeeDee Lamb and Watson side wins out. But if you also factor in the risk with Deshaun Watson, I think that could have you go more toward the Justin Jefferson side. So I really think this comes down to preference, how risky you want to be. If you want to roll with Watson and you think he's going to be fine, and you think Lamb is just as good, or if not almost as good as Justin Jefferson, then yeah, I'd smash that side too. So I think it just depends on how much risk you want on your own team at these specific positions.
I mean, you could say Justin Fields is a risk. I mean, we don't know really what he's going to do. I think he'll be fine personally. I think, but he could end up being like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see him be like a Daniel Jones, where it's like he shows flashes of like really like top level quarterback play, but then it's just inconsistent, and then he shows like really bad play. And this year is not going to be still a good year to decide that, because they need to get more talent around it before I really get an opinion on that. Another new coach there, so I think at the end of this year, owners of Justin Fields are going to be like kind of scared, and they might try and sell him. So I don't know. If Deshaun Watson gets suspended for a whole year, yeah, it sucks. But if he comes back the next year and is still staying in good football shape and still working out and doing all that stuff, he could still. I mean, if he's on the field, he's a top 5 like dynasty quarterback for me. Both of these guys are top 5 dynasty. Honestly, yeah, both of them are top 5 dynasty wide receivers. Justin Jefferson's probably arguably 1 or 2, depending on who you like more, him or Chase. So I find the trade even personally, but that's just Rick says give me Jefferson Fields in the first fairly easily. I don't know about fairly easily.
Well, you're coming from a guy who has a Justin Field autograph above his bed.
Yeah. He's pretty. I think he's pretty. He's usually not super
biased. Yeah.
Biased, but yeah. I don't know. I don't think this trade is crazy at all. I mean, if all the allegations and stuff weren't there, which they are, but it wouldn't be. It's not that crazy.
And everyone,
it's not close for them either. But I think people are low on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, no, and I think they are too. I mean, especially with this new news coming out, it's like, oh man, here we go again. So yeah, we'll see what happens though. I mean, he should be okay if everything goes okay, but I guess we'll see what happens.
He get suspended until after this season. Like he might play this whole season and they get suspended the following season, because I think the NFL waits for all that stuff outside of their organization to get settled, and then they make their own.
Yeah, but also how brutal would it be if you roll with him and then the verdict comes like midway through the season, then he's like out for the playoffs and the start of next year, like that. It's almost like losing him 2 years, even if he only misses 1.
Yeah,
it's kind of risky.
That's possible. And so Rick said he's not biased. He said QB separation is not enough difference. That's a wide separation for me. He said for the Jefferson first, Fields is going to be running more under a new regime, which ups his floor. We'll see. I mean, we all think we know. If we knew half the stuff we think we do, we'd all be.
Yeah, a lot of it sounds like Trubisky there, so it's a little risky, man.
Yeah, I like the players I got out of mine for the long term. Even if Deshaun Watson sees suspension or whatever, I don't think he's going to be. He's going to be an asset for years and years. So
now, was this the same league where you did this trade with CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So I got CeeDee Lamb. So I essentially traded Jefferson, Fields, and a first for Deshaun Watson, Deontay Johnson, a first and a second.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And everyone in the chat, please keep asking questions after we get through with our main discussion here. We'll be going to those. So thank you.
It's Bryce. He needs me in more of his leagues. Okay, fair enough. All right, we'll talk about the next trade. So this is also a super flex PPR tight end premium. This is Derek Carr and the 110.
Yes.
2022. So this year's 110.
Correct.
For Joe Mixon.
Correct.
Did you make this trade or just have
I did not. No, it's one of our colleagues shared this with us, Mr. Kloss, Kevin Kloss. I believe he said it was an offer that was rejected that he thought was fair. I think it's really fair too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing a startup, Joe Mixon is ahead of anyone at the 110, pretending rookies are in the startup. 110 would be in a super flex, maybe Sky Moore, Watson, Pickens, Jahan Dotson. So one of those type of guys. And then Derek Carr. In a startup, Joe Mixon would be taken well ahead of these guys, I think. I think Derek Carr is probably more of like a fifth, sixth round in the super flex. Joe Mixon probably third round. So that's the way I evaluate the trade. Would I trade a sixth round pick and a ninth round pick for a third round pick? I'd rather have the third round pick. So it is a team dependent trade. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously, if you have some running back depth and you need a quarterback and you want some wide receiver help, then yeah, I think it's a fair trade if you want to get rid of Mixon now. But just straight value for me, it's Mixon. What do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I think I agree with this draft class not really having like much value in running back. I mean, you could argue the 110 if he's giving up Mixon. He could take James Cook there, so he's getting James Cook and Derek Carr. But I think I'd still rather have Joe Mixon. But I think it could be it's more than likely. It's definitely potential for this to be a win-win. Where if this person has got a lot of running back and he really needs a quarterback, where Derek Carr is more than likely still going to be there for a couple more years at least. Then you got a nice, solid, quarterback, high-end quarterback to low quarterback one guy along with that pick. I still lean Joe Mixon here. I think he is more valuable like in startups, like you said.
And trades should be win-win. So I think this is a good example of a trade that could make both owners happy. And that's really what all trades should be. So if you have running back depth and you think you could, get rid of Mixon to get a quarterback and maybe a flyer at wide receiver, I think these are the types of trades that make the most sense in leagues. And if you're hurting for a specific position and you see someone has, Derek Carr as like their fourth quarterback and they don't have another running back to start, I mean, these are the types of teams you need to be looking at to make a trade like this. I think it's a very even trade overall.
Yeah, and there's Rick and Schneider saying Mixon and Carr are relatively pretty even and super flex, and I get that, but running backs are just so thin, and quarterbacks really aren't. Like I feel like there's a lot of value in a lot of quarterbacks. Like if Carr is sitting on that dude's bench most weeks for some reason, and he's got like two quarterbacks better than every week, and he gets rid of him, and then that first, if he tried to get Carr just for Mixon straight up and was rejected, and he threw the first in, and that greatly improves his starting lineup to make him a better team. I can see, like I said, that's where it's like if that now his team is a contender because now Mixon in his lineup and Carr was on his bench getting thrown in on these other quarterbacks bye weeks. Sure, like I like that. Would I have tried to get maybe a little bit better deal? Yeah, but I just don't know if like as the Mixon owner, if I would sell him for any cheaper than what I would have gotten in that return. So
yeah.
So there's a lot of value in quarterbacks. You just made my point from the Watson trade. Yeah, but Watson's like, in my opinion, like the top tier. Like I think he's going to be, if he plays the whole season, which is what I'm expecting him to. I didn't see this other lawsuit till today. I think he's like in that. I think he's going to be right up there with the Josh Allens, the Pat Mahomes, and all them. Like, he's going. He was up there before.
It's risky, man. It's risky. I feel you, man. It's just risky.
I just know what I like. It's we'll see. We'll just see. There's nothing you can say. We haven't seen him play in a while, and I think that a lot of people.
I feel you.
It's not valuable. We'll see. Well, I'll hold on to all this energy I'm getting from, especially the chat here with Rick and Sean.
Yeah, normally I'm the one that's a little feisty, but not right now.
I know. We'll see. We will see.
I'm vibing right now.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack on this one. So this is a 1 QB league.
Yes.
So quarterbacks are much different value. It's a 12-team PPR dynasty, and it's Brady, Barkley. Okay, let me go their whole names. Tom Brady, Saquon Barkley, Michael Gallup, Sammy Watkins, and Juju Smith-Schuster for Van Jefferson, 2 projected late 2023 first,
Definitely.
a 2024 first, and a 2024 third. So I think when I look at trades that have a lot going on like this, I weed out the people I don't care about. So let's weed out Sammy Watkins. Let's weed out. I really don't think Van Jefferson has a ton of value in these leagues now. And then that third round pick doesn't have so much value for me. So I look at it as, I mean, and then it's one QB. So Brady, not much value. So I kind of look at it like Barkley and Gallup and Juju for 3 firsts, essentially, is how I look at this trade. Because unless this person had like the 18th quarterback and had no other good quarterbacks, and it was like I don't know the differences between QB, because Brady is QB3 last year or 2, between QB whatever he was to all the way to QB 6 or 17. I don't know the difference in points. I doubt it wasn't that much. So that's why I don't really care much about quarterbacks in these 1 QB leagues. And if I'm looking at it, I think I would rather have the players. I'd rather have Barkley, I'd rather have Gallup, and I would rather have Juju. So in my and if I own these guys, especially Barkley and Gallup, I think their value is at a low right now. Like Barkley has disappointed 2 years in a row, and the Giants have addressed O-line. Hopefully they're finally getting healthy. Like Barkley ideally should have a bounce back season this year. He has the potential to be a PPR monster. Gallup now steps in as the number 2 receiver, which I think he is more than capable of doing. So I'm hoping, I would be banking on him succeeding in that role. And then Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy I'm kind of on the fence about. I think he's best suited as a team's second or third option, which he does come on the Chiefs as a second option behind Travis Kelce. So I think he will succeed in that organization, but I don't think he's going to be like skyrocketed back up to like his best season. I think he's already had his best season, but I could see him being like a 1,100, 1,200 yard guy with like 5 or 6 touchdowns in there, still valuable, a weekly starter in your lineups. And I think I'd rather have those 3 players than the 3 first. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with you. I think a lot of this comes down to how much you value Barkley. If you value Barkley at a first, then I think you're going to take the pick side, because Gallup and Juju would be worth a first as well. Then all of a sudden you're getting Van Jefferson in the third, and you're not. I mean, who cares about Sammy Watkins and Brady? So really, what this comes down to is Barkley. If you think Barkley is worth 2 firsts, then you're going to go with the Barkley side. If you think Barkley's only worth 1 first, then you're going to go with the pick side. And so I think that's the determining factor. I agree with you. I think Barkley's at an all-time low, and I think he's going to be worth more by mid to the end of the season than he is right now. Mm-hmm. That's why I prefer the player side. If you're a contender, you're going to use Brady. You're going to hopefully use Barkley for the season. You're going to use Juju, and you're going to use Gallup. And holding on to some future picks, while they may be nice in the future, they may not pan out. And so if you can get solid production on a contending team, and you're going to be using Brady and Barkley and Juju and probably Gallup throughout the season, I think that makes the most sense. If you're rebuilding, obviously you don't want to hold on to some of those assets, especially Brady and Barkley. And so that's why I understand why the individual, this was from my league, the individual traded away. They're rebuilding. They wanted the picks. It was a fair trade. No one got upset with the trade.
No.
So both owners were happy. I think the value is on the Barkley side, just because I think he's worth more than a first. I think he's worth more than a late 23 first or a 24 first. That's really what I break this trade down into. So I agree with you. I think the value is on the players, but if Barkley gets hurt week 1, all of a sudden this looks like a really bad trade. So There's risk involved.
More of an unlucky trade at that point.
I'm gonna go with the players as well, as you said.
Yeah, Barkley's been one of the most frustrating people for me,
Certainly.
As a fantasy owner and player. Like, he has all the talent to be like the number 1 back every year if he could stay healthy. Like, he just has that ability and did his first year, but since then has been plagued with injury. That team has been a dumpster fire, especially with the O-line. So it's been frustrating. But I as a guy that has Barkley in several leagues, there's no way I would get rid of him for just a first. There's no way.
I agree.
So I wouldn't even sell him for the 101. I wouldn't trade him for Breece Hall. That's for sure. So, all right, let's move on to this next one. Also, one QB. I think the rest of them might be one QB. There might be a couple more super flex sprinkled in if we get to them at the end. So one QB, 12 team PPR dynasty. We've got. Let me put it here on the screen for us. We've got Marquise Hollywood Brown now for the Arizona Cardinals, for Tyler Lockett and James Cook.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this was in one of my leagues. This went down. And, man, I kind of like the Lockett side and James Cook. I don't love Hollywood Brown. I think he's going to have a good start to the season with Hopkins out. Maybe they have a connection with Kyler. But he seems like he'll be a little inconsistent. I don't think he's going to be a go-to type player. So, and I know Lockett's in a really bad spot this year without really having much of a quarterback. But I still have hope that, they'll find a quarterback either next year after they try to lose this year. Cook really is kind of the big factor here. Could Cook carve out like a nice PPR role? I mean, I think it's pretty possible. I'd say maybe 50-50 that James Cook is worth more than Hollywood Brown is by the end of this season. So with that in mind, you're pretty much getting a free flyer on Lockett and then a 50-50 chance on James Cook. So I think it's even. I've never been a big fan of Brown. He's always been a little too inconsistent for me. I don't expect him to be a main focal point of their offense in Arizona. I think he'll be mixed in. I don't think he'll be a main focal point. People may disagree with that.
I agree with you. So he's going to say no, Bryce, no next.
Yeah, go ahead, Bryce. Why don't you take the baton here?
I think I do actually like Hollywood Brown, but his play has been inconsistent. But I don't know if that's from Lamar Jackson. But the problem with Hollywood Brown now is that he has now gone to a team where he might be really good these first 6 weeks. Like, he might be awesome. But when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, it's DeAndre Hopkins' show. Like, he's going to demand most of the targets. And I just see Hollywood Brown being kind of he still will have value, but I just don't think
he'll be like Christian Kirk, right? I mean, he'll be like the Christian Kirk. That's who he replaced. I mean, let's be honest.
He's better than Christian Kirk. I think we can agree on that. But, well, maybe you don't. But I definitely think he's better than Christian Kirk. But I think his volume will be similar, and I just don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be that great. I think James Cook and Tyler Lockett. It's kind of weird because all these guys are guys I'm not really trying to get. So it's like it's harder for me to value it because I'm not trade. I don't have any of these guys, and I don't try and trade for any of them. So I haven't really looked into what I really think of them. But just by looking at it right here, James Cook is going. This is like Tyler Lockett in a late or a early second or a late first. Well, okay, this is one QB, so this is probably Tyler Lockett in a late first for Marquise Hollywood Brown. It's really not that bad of a trade. I think overall it's even, and I can't really blame either side. I probably would lean the James Cook side barely. So, yeah, that's this. I just don't think I don't think Hollywood Brown is as good as like people think he is.
I agree with you. 100%.
I think he's benefited from Lamar Jackson being able to extend plays and him being able to find them more than
I agree with you 100%.
So until he proves me wrong, like he is now in an offense where he could prove me wrong, and I won't feel like bad about it. Like Kyler Murray is a better passer than Lamar Jackson. So if Marquise Brown is a good timing receiver, he's going to be able to show it here in Arizona. I just haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to buy into it. That's my goal.
I mean, this will be the year he does it. I guess let's quickly look at his career stats to see how he's done every year.
Tyler Lockett, I'm worried about him too, but DK Metcalf, I wouldn't surprise me to see DK Metcalf traded by the start of this season, and the Seahawks are just going to go tank mode, get one of these top level QBs and completely rebuild their whole team. So it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think DK wants to be there, so they might just ship him off for max value. So we might be in the minority there, but maybe we're just great minds think alike. And Rick asked a question in the chat and he said Brad Menendez or no, Craig asked a thing in the chat. Would you trade Brad Menendez for Ricky Butts? And I'll take the Brad Menendez all day.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm not. I don't
know, especially after today.
I don't know if Brad would like my my company. With my language, and all my bad habits. I don't know if that would be all right.
Yeah, and I see some people are still asking trade questions in the chat, and stay tuned till the end because we have a couple more trades to talk about. We'll talk about them until about 8:45, and then we'll go over some of the ones in the chat, guys. So stay tuned for that.
Pacific time.
Oh, 5:45, yeah, Central time. 8:45 Eastern.
Pacific time.
Oh yeah. Pacific. 1 QB, 12 team PPR dynasty, a late 2023 second, or Hayden Hurst in a 2023 third.
Yeah, no, check this out. This is actually offered to me in one of my leagues. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just throw it up here. What the hell? So I was offered for my 23 second. I think it's going to be a late second. I have a really good team. I got third last year. I probably should have got second or first, but it didn't go down. That's all right. Stuff happens. And I'm offered now to give away my late 23 second to get Hayden Hurst, who I think is the starting tight end for Cincinnati. Like, that's my question. Like, is he the starting tight end for Cincinnati? I think he is. I don't think Uzomah's with the team anymore. And then I get a late 23 third back too. So this is something I'm pondering. I don't have an answer. If I had an answer, I would have already accepted or denied it by now. So this might have to go to you, Bryce. I see both sides of it. Is Hurst going to be the guy this year for Cincinnati?
Yeah. I mean, who else is there? Like, Sample? No, it's Hurst. Hurst is going to be there, and he's going to be reliable. Like, I feel like that he's going to be really good in the red zone, where he's not going to be getting you a ton of PPR value. I think he's going to, but he has a lot of touchdown upside being on the Bengals. Like, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to demand a lot of attention, which gives Hayden Hurst all the opportunities to be successful. And we saw him do that when he was with the Falcons. When they were all healthy. I can't even remember where was that. That's where he was at last year, but I feel like he's pretty decent. Like, when he was with the Falcons and they had all their weapons at the time, Calvin Ridley was on the field. I think Julio was sometimes out there. Like, Hayden Hurst was valuable, and I can see him having that similar value when he comes to the Bengals, where you feel okay plugging him in your weekly lineup every week, and you don't feel sick about it. Like, 10 points is about where he's going to be, maybe plus or minus a couple of points. So, yeah. But you did say this next year's draft class is 2 times as good as this year's draft class. Did you not?
That is what I said.
So,
my tight end
2023 second be equivalent to a 2020 second late first?
No, I don't know about that.
Well, that's what you kind of said.
No, I don't know about that.
I go Hayden Hurst here.
Personally. All right. So my starting tight end right now is Tyler Higbee, and my bench tight end is Robert Tonyan.
No, I go Hayden Hurst, and I put him in front of both of them.
So we think Hurst is better than Higbee and Tonyan.
On the Bengals, yes.
All right.
Tonyan could come out and ball out, but he didn't do jack diddly squat this past season. So I know he did get hurt at one point, but even when he was healthy and on the field, he didn't do anything.
All right.
Looks like I'm not in the minority on that one. So
I also have to cut a player if I do that. So I guess James White is gonna be gone.
James White?
No, James White.
I like him.
Oh, I love James White. Oh, you like James White too, huh?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, nobody really stepped up in the back out of the backfield for New England last year. Like, there was people that were okay, but nobody did very good.
What do you think about Parham? Donald Parham.
I don't mind him either. He's not on your taxi squad or anything.
No, I don't have tax in this league. Oh. We have real deep benches though. Man, everyone likes Hurst in the group here.
Okay, Leone, while you're pondering that, I'm gonna put the
Yeah.
trade you. This is the trade you make, I think.
I'm trying to see who I should drop here. Oh, I could drop Daniel Jones because it's a 1 QB league. Poor Daniel Jones.
Okay. Yeah, poor Danny Dimes. All right. This is your trade, Leone. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the same league. This is where I got Deebo Samuel. I don't have a 23 first now. I traded it away in this pick. I was going to take Jahan Dotson. And so that's why I put at the 110 in the rookie draft. I was on the clock, and I always tell people, hey, when you're doing a rookie draft, you don't need to trade away your picks or before the draft. Usually you can wait till you're on the clock. And so this was an example where I'm on the clock. Jahan Dotson has 1 foot onto my roster, and I get a trade offer, and he wants the pick. He ended up taking George Pickens. I did the trade. And so he took the 110. George Pickens is who he took. I would have taken Dotson, but it doesn't matter. 110. And I gave away my late first for next year, and I got Deebo Samuel. So I really like the trade. I know Deebo's a little risky. We don't know for sure if he's going to play this year. We don't know if he's going to be with the Niners this next year, following this year. Maybe he's going to hold out. I'm confident he's going to play. I'm confident he's going to have a good season. I'm confident he's going to take me over the top from being the 3rd best team last year to the best team this year. So I really like the trade. Yeah, losing the late 23 first is, not the best. But 2 late firsts for a player like Deebo, I think it's a slam dunk. So I was very happy with the trade. He was really happy. He got his guy in George Pickens. So I was like, cool, man, win-win. But I smashed that. I didn't even say yes. I just accepted it. Like I just accepted that trade. So what do you think, Bryce? Did I make the right move there?
Yeah, I'm going Deebo Samuel quite easily here. 2 late firsts for him is a slam dunk. He's going to play this year. I can't imagine, he's not on anything but a rookie year, right? Rookie deal. So I can't imagine he has like a ton of money saved up or whatnot. So, Deebo, and it's so easily Deebo, and Deebo is going to steal your trade even for bringing up Deebo. Right. So yeah, it's Deebo. Deebo to me is a number 3 in dynasty wide receiver rankings. I know that might be high for some people.
What's high for me?
Yeah. Well, what did he do last year? Every time he touched the ball, he was electric. Like he is the number 1 guy once he has the ball in his hands. So that might change after this season if it's true that he doesn't want to be utilized as a running back. I'm not sure what's going on with all that. Who knows what's true and what's not. You can't really trust any media outlets. They just try and get people to. It's all clickbait. I feel like
definitely.
So definitely. I think Deebo just wants more money. I don't think he's worried about his utilization as much as it is just him wanting paid like a top level athlete before his rookie deal is up, which I guess I can understand. I'm not in that super knowledgeable in that stuff, so I don't really talk about it much. But yeah, Deebo Samuel, top 5. I feel like he's a top 5 for most people in dynasty rankings. So
sure.
For me, he's number 3. So I think you won that. You won that trade, and unlike you, everyone else agrees with the decision you make, but not me. So, all right. So now we'll get into some of the other trades that aren't in our leagues that we saw in either the Facebook group or things like that, and we'll talk about a couple of them, and then we'll touch up some of the ones that were put here in the chat. So we got Hollywood Brown again. Let's see what side wins this one in the chat. So we got T. Higgins or Marquise Hollywood Brown, Noah Fant, plus a mid to late 2023 first. What are your thoughts on this one, Leone?
Yeah, this is straight from the Facebook group. And I thought it was a really good trade. I think it was posted either yesterday or today. I think it's a really good trade. I also like how this trade, it wasn't like one of those poll questions. Like the guy who shared it sent like a screen grab. And so it forced people to like kind of talk in the comments, which I thought was really kind of cool. So if you guys can find that post, it was from a couple days, I think today or yesterday. Really interesting conversation on there. I see both sides of it, man. I mean, we've already talked about my thoughts on Hollywood Brown. We're not really sold on him as a player. He's inconsistent. I think it's going to remain inconsistent. But Higgins is also in a kind of a timeshare-ish type situation on his end too, with Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd and who's the tight end they got? Hayden Hurst. I mean, come on now. So on this one, even though I'm not the biggest Brown fan, I think there's enough value with Fant and that pick where I'm going to go that way. But if someone says Higgins because they think he's just that much better than everyone else here, I don't. I get it. I think it's a fair trade. I like the package in this instance, Bryce.
Yeah, I agree. I like the package too, but I think it's fairly even. I think it's a really good trade. If you like Higgins, I can't blame you because he gets targeted a lot. And if I remember correctly, this past season, I don't have the numbers with me, but I think he had more targets than Jamar Chase. Like Joe looks for Higgins a lot, especially on like third down and those more clutch moments. T. Higgins gets a lot of targets. He's a big-bodied guy, going to be a threat in the red zone. And obviously being on the Bengals, he's a sorry, what am I trying to see here? A red zone threat, has high touchdown upside. Sorry. So I can't blame him, but I'm going to go with Marquise Hollywood Brown, Noah Fant in the 2023 first. I don't think Higgins probably gets the same amount of volume that he did this past season. I think it's unlikely, and I do worry that once Higgins' contract comes up here, maybe in a couple years, that it's going to be hard to afford Chase, Burrow, and Higgins all together. Like Higgins might want out, and he could go to a team that gives him a lot of money that might not have great quarterback play. I don't really take that into consideration here, but it's just maybe something that you can think about if you're on the fence. Like, what is this going to look like 3 years from now? But I'll take the package relatively easy.
Sure.
So, okay, and then let's go over this one more trade, and then we'll get to some of these ones in the chat. And I like this one because I think we had differing opinions on it.
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
Finally,
you don't see a lot.
We've actually agreed on almost everything on this whole show. It's just kind of weird.
So it was on Corey Moran asked, and this was on the Facebook page, I believe.
Yes, it was. It was
James Conner and Drake London for Austin Eckler and a early 2023 second. So a crappy team for next year. So go ahead and tell your side of it.
All right. So my side of this is I think Austin Eckler is that much better than James Conner. So if you're giving up James Conner, you're trying to upgrade the position. So you're trying to say, hey, look, I want to make my RB1 or RB2 lights out with Austin Eckler. So I love that. I love that move. I think James Conner and Austin Eckler are about the same age, but I think you're getting that much more production in a PPR league, especially with Austin Eckler. I really like Eckler. Now, I do think Conner is a good value. I know you're going to touch on that, but I just think that Austin Eckler is that much better than James Conner. And Drake London's a huge question mark. He's a huge question mark. So is that huge question mark enough to make up the difference? I think without the early second it is, but you throw in that early second next year, and that tips it back over to the Eckler side. So I think I would like this trade more if it was just James Conner and Drake London for Eckler. Then I'd be all over the Conner or Drake London side. But losing that early second in a really deep class, for me, that puts me on the Eckler and pick side.
I obviously am the James Conner and Drake London side. Austin Eckler was number 2 last year in fantasy for running backs. Amazing year. He's a huge, huge PPR threat. They did just draft a guy that kind of plays similar to him in Isaiah Spiller. So is he going to be involved early? It feels like that the Chargers always try to get other guys involved in that like offense, especially in the backfield, but just nobody's nearly as good as Austin Eckler. And they gave him all of the work. Where I think Spiller comes in and could be a guy that eats into his like PPR value, right? Like, what if they start doing like a timeshare? like they do, like the Packers did with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, or Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, where they could put like Eckler in for a drive and Spiller in for a drive, and third down situation, they don't change it. They keep the same dude in because both are just equally as like dominant as backside of the backfield. Like that's something that I worry about if I was an Austin Eckler owner. Whereas James Conner doesn't have any threats on that team as of now. Like, I think that he is a tremendous value. No, I don't think he's better than Austin Eckler in fantasy terms. So I do like Austin Eckler a little more, but it's just not enough more to where you add Drake London in there, who, in my opinion, is equivalent to the 102, 103 in this draft class. So I think he's not really a question mark for me because I think he's going to be very good in the NFL. So
the disrespect to Darrell Williams.
Who?
The disrespect to Darrell Williams.
Oh, please.
No, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think it's unlikely that a rookie running back, Isaiah Spiller, gets that much of a volume his rookie season. I just find it incredibly unlikely. I don't think that they drafted him for work like that this season. I think they're going to give him time to develop into.
But you're a guy that looks 3 years ahead, Leone. So what about like 2 years from now? What about like next year this time? Like, what if like Isaiah Spiller is going to take 50% of that, where James Conner could still be a guy?
Who else is on their team? What about Joshua Kelly or Larry Roundtree and all these other guys you said that were going to come in and do the
better
same
than
thing?
them. We know that. Come on.
We don't know that. So let's just see what happens. Let's see how he goes. I'm not going to worry about Austin Eckler workload this season with a rookie running back. It's not in my equation.
I think you're getting two starters for one here. That's my thing. You're getting two dudes you can plug in your weekly lineup for one. And as long as Drake London scores more than 6 points a week, you're getting more points for that package. Obviously, you got to take into account who started in there before him. So if he's averaging,
but you're also ignoring the 23 early second round pick.
They say that. Flex. What if for some reason that team ends up like having 4 of their taxi squad players become stars, and it's a late 2020?
Oh man! Like, I'm just going off of the information that Corey gave us.
But these projections,
I know
a little bit.
I know.
But they always say early. I almost like I'll say worst case scenario.
Do you fudge it like mid? Yeah, you like kind of
Like if I think it's gonna be a late, if I think it's gonna be a late, it's gonna be a late. But if I think it's gonna be a mid, I'm like, okay, this mid has the potential to be late. This early has the potential to be a mid, where it's you're not really seeing it opposite a lot of times unless injury strikes pretty bad.
But in a super flex tight end premium league next year, with how many quarterbacks and tight ends we're going to have in this draft,
is there a lot of tight ends? I haven't paid attention.
Yeah, no, this is a really deep draft. So I'm telling you,
people,
that early second to me looks like a late first this year. That's the way I view it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, and before we get to the questions in chat, we'll end it for those listening to this later in a podcast form. So everyone that listened, thank you so much. Again, give the YouTube channel a follow, Roto Heat Fantasy Football Advice. Go follow our Facebook page, Roto Heat Dynasty Fantasy Football. Put your, we're an active community. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to message either Leone or I on Facebook. And we have a Discord as well. You can find on the Facebook. Thank you guys for listening. And we will, Leone will see you next week. I'll be on vacation.
Can't wait.
All right. So let's get some of these questions in the chat. Man, we got a lot. The chat is active today.
Let's go. Chat it up. Let's keep Bryce up till midnight. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Okay. So Vic Z, if you're still here, we will get to yours right here. So we got
Vic,
Breece Hall, Romeo Doubs, and a 2023 first for Javonte Williams, Tyler Algier, and a 2024 first. Well, this to me is relatively easy. I'm going the Javonte Williams side.
Same.
Yeah.
That was not eventful. I agree with you.
I mean, I get it. Breece Hall's the 101 and then the 2023 first. Like, those are going to be exciting. But Javonte Williams is just – I'm expecting him to be a top 3 dynasty asset. And then that 2024 first is just like icing on the cake. I probably would have took it for I would have took Javonte by himself for all three of those. Like I'd still rather have Javonte for me. The other stuff is just bonus.
And Algier may even may get a lot of playing time this year too. So I mean, for me, it's quite easily the Javonte side.
Yeah, I agree. We got to see some more. Oh, CXK was in here saying Heat. How are we doing?
Let's go, baby.
Okay, Alex, if you're in here still in a super flex PPR tight end premium startup, would you trade away picks 7, 8, and 9 for 3 and 10? You have 3 flexes.
You missed a question too. So remind.
Which one did I miss?
Well, let's finish this one, then go up to the very top. You'll find it.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, okay. But that's okay. So in a Superflex PPR startup, would you trade away picks 7, 8, 9? Is that like round 7, 8, 9?
It's got to be rounds.
Okay. Would
There's
you
no
trade
way
away 7, 8, 9
Yeah.
for 3 and 10? We have 3 flex. I mean, it really just depends on the other picks you did, Alex. I mean, probably. I probably would. I probably would. But it's kind of hard to say. This I'm kind of flying blind here. But I probably would, because I mean, would I trade 8 and 9 for 3? Yeah. Would I trade 7 and 8 for 3? Yeah. So am I going to have to just go down one round to do that? Yeah. So in that sense, I would do it.
Yeah, I probably would.
But at the same time, if you've already drafted a really good team, and we're talking about players and not just picks, I don't know.
They can't be too far if
I don't know.
From round 3. So
yeah, I don't know. I would probably do it though, just without having any other information.
Sorry, Jared, I didn't see this one. Would you rather have Najee Harris or Breece Hall and Keenan Allen?
Man, that's a good question. I think I'd go with Harris. I really like Najee Harris. Hall could be good, but he's a question mark with the Jets. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I think he's going to be good. I love Keenan Allen. We talked about him last week. But when you have someone like Najee as like the guy for the foreseeable future, maybe even longer, for me, it's Harris. The only way I'd consider not doing that is if I had a huge hole at wide receiver and I thought Allen would push me over the top. But man, that downgrade from Hall to Harris kind of negates that anyway. So for me, it's Harris.
Yeah, it's Harris for me as well. I think Keenan, I know I already touched on this. I think Keenan Allen's best days are behind him. So I think now is the best time to sell him. And if I'm getting a top level, guy that's already proven it, when Najee Harris, give me Najee. Who said something and what? Oh, Hall and Allen for them, 100%. We are literally the opposite of them. They should have been on the show with us.
Oh, this is great. These dudes.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
This is for Bryce being on less drugs than Anthony and keeping information valuable, kind of. Thanks.
No. I don't think that was a compliment. I don't know if that was a compliment, Bryce.
Fearless leader.
He still said you're on drugs. And you're like, hey, thanks.
just less than you. Oh, that's funny. Let's see here. I think we had a couple more. There's freaking chat is crazy today. Let's
go.
James Cook. Well, we got the Brad Menendez one. Tell me if you see one. Okay, there's Alex's. Okay, I had to find his again. So, here we go. I knew John had one in here. Okay, John McGrowan asks, 1 QB, 20-team dynasty.
20-team.
So I'm assuming it's like 2 things of 10, I would guess, right? Like, did they do the thing like how we did with 96?
I mean, for me, it's Lamb and Evans. I mean, if this is a real 20-team league, like, I mean,
it doesn't matter the situation for me. It's Lamb and Evans.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between Justin Jefferson and Lamb is it's significant, but it's not that significant.
Yeah.
And then you
It's
just
like-
get Mike Evans on top.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So for me, it's very, very easily Lamb and Evans. I don't really even need to think about that too long.
How many is too many 2023 first round picks? There's no such thing. I have 4 and a second as well. I've rebuilt from a horrible team to my first year as competing for it all. So you're competing and you have 4 2023 firsts? We need to take advice from you, I guess. Rick says we beats me in our league, but that is it takes me 3
So yeah,
years.
so what league? So are you behind in the rankings in this league that Rick's talking about here?
It's the one I got 8th last year. Like
You got
he won.
8th?
Or no, I'm sorry. I was the 8th pick, so I got 4th.
Oh, you got 4th. That's not too bad. What did Rick get?
First.
Oh,
He
yeah,
won.
that's better. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's all right. You know what? That one and done is what Rick is.
You think so?
I don't know. His team's still pretty good.
Would you bet your team finishes higher than his team this year?
I don't have the depth. I wouldn't bet that.
You wouldn't bet that?
It wouldn't surprise me either. Like the problem with my team is health and depth. So like I've got OBJ right now. He's not gonna be back, and he was kind of a guy I needed. I lack depth a lot. I got George Pickens and Christian Watson in the draft. It'd be real nice if one of those guys could be a startable asset early for me. That's for sure. But I'm definitely not banking on that. Rick's team is like kind of older, but they're good vets. Like he had Connor and Fournette, who were super great last year. He's got Kelsey, who should be really good this year. He's got Aaron Rodgers, who should be really good this year. But I feel like that team could be falling off a cliff quick is the problem.
So this is the time for Rick to start trading some of these assets.
If he's not winning, if he's winning, you keep him and win another year. But if he starts losing, he could definitely be competing.
Unload,
again.
yeah. Good.
But he could unload all those guys for first round picks.
Rick, this was the Mario League, right? Did you change your character to a Chrome character?
Yeah, Rick.
Yet?
Are you going to change your character?
You got to go like Chrome. I know you guys were talking about that.
Yeah, Matt didn't do it, but Rick should.
Yeah, Rick
I would do it for sure. That was all the questions, I think. Rick said an NFL GM called Pickens a turd. A turd. A thing that comes out of your bunghole. A bunghole is actually like a hole in a wine barrel or something. Just so
really?
You look it up. I'm pretty sure. Google it. Well, don't Google images though.
This is scary territory here. This is how this reminds me how Brad this reminds me of one of our
you had Cooper Kupp in that league, Rick? I didn't know you had Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about the wine barrel. Look at you.
The only reason I know that is because my buddy said something about like something, and my mom's like, "Do you even know what that is?" He goes, "It's something on a wine barrel." Oh, Amari Cooper.
Good knowledge, Bryce. Very good knowledge.
Yeah. Remember stupid stuff like that. Yeah, it's like a hole in a wine barrel, bunghole. It's kind of funny. He's letting his nephew pick his character. That's right. He did say that. Oh, he has. So this is some of his assets in that league. Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Brandon Cooks, Stephon Diggs, Cordarrelle. He traded for Cordarrelle Patterson. I remember that, and it helped him. Oh, here we got one more question, and we'll finish up because it is almost 9.
Yeah, you can let your nephew pick your character, Rick, but you gotta go Chrome, I think.
Traded Fields, Stevenson, Smitty.
I don't know who Smitty is.
Yeah, who's Smitty? If you could clarify that.
Smitty sounds cool though.
Is it? It's not Devontae. Is that Devontae Smith's nickname?
I don't think so. Smitty.
Patrick, who is Smitty? If you could just clarify. Elijah Moore and a 2023 and 2023 seconds for Higgins, Godwins, and Ritter.
Smitty is Devonta Smith.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I didn't know that. Now I know.
I thought it was, but then you had me guessing. Okay, so Higgins, Godwin, Ritter for Fields, Stevens. Okay, so it's 1 QB. So again, this is what I do: Fields. Throw him out the window. Stevenson, throw him out the window. Devontae Smith, Elijah Moore, bigger.
It's Higgins and Godwin.
Yeah, it's Higgins and
For
Godwin
me.
for me too. And I know
Yeah.
Godwin might not be playing early this season. Like he might miss the first couple games. He might play. I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't throw Fields out like Fields is nothing. Like I don't think that's fair.
One QB, I'm throwing any QB out really, unless it's
I don't think that's fair.
I don't think he doesn't really add any value to a trade. It's so minuscule. It's so minuscule. The Field side, it's one QB. Cody, one QB.
Yeah, I mean, in one QB for sure. For me, it's Godwin and Higgins.
Stevenson. It's a Patriot running back. Boom.
I agree with you.
No value.
I don't agree about the Patriot thing, but no, you're saying it's a knock. Yeah, okay. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. I'm not looking at the. I don't. Fields just adds and little value on that side is the point I'm making. So, like, who has significant value here? So
I'm not. Again, I would not just throw out Fields. I disagree with Bryce on that point. But Higgins and Godwin, to me, are worth well more than Elijah Moore and 2:23 seconds and Fields. So, and Devonta Smith, I'm not really sold on. So, for me, it's Higgins and Godwin.
Yeah, I mean, it's again like, where do you ever see yourself starting Fields in a one QB league unless you're like hurt? Like he has to pan out huge usually. That's just. Like I said, that's just. I mean, I'm not throwing him out, but he adds very, very little value. I'm not really analyzing that in a trade. Like if it's even and then he's on it and he barely tips that scale, okay. But this is far off for me. So Rick has one question, but we'll go to this one and then we'll finish with Rick's question. Oh wait, sorry, that's not it. Singletary or I can never pronounce that dude's last name. Algier. Yeah. Algier. Which one would you rather have?
I'd rather have Algier. I really do think he's in a good spot this season. I don't think they're going to be using Cordell Patterson as much in the backfield. I think he's going to be split out wide more, use kind of more of a gadgety type player. I really think Algier, as soon as they drafted Algier, they cut Mike Davis. And Mike Davis had a pretty sizable role last year. He just couldn't really do much with it. So I think Algier is in a really good spot. I don't like Singletary much at all. So of the two, who has more upside? For me, it's Algier. And I think they're both going to have similar roles this season, usage-wise. So for me, it's Algier. But I think that's a good question.
Yeah, I agree. I think the presence of I know Singletary ended the season really well last year. And ideally he would carry that over, but I don't trust it. Like I'm not going to take into account 3 weeks out of the 2 years you played and read much into it. I'll take the guy because I think Singletary has a really good chance of not being the starter, where Algier has a really good chance of being the starter. So I'll take the guy I think has a better chance of being the starter mid to end of the year. And then Rick's last question is, who has more raw talent, Justin Fields or Jalen Hurts? Justin Fields, I got to watch him a lot. This is so far off. He rushed for 420 yards last season. That rolled him out 19 times. 19 times. Only 19 times last season. Even a bad Fields could be a fantasy monster. We'll see. But Justin Fields has had more raw talent. The only thing I worried about him from watching Ohio State a lot was decision making was something that he struggled with. Like at Ohio State, he was not good under pressure. He was not really good in the pocket under pressure. If he rolls out more and he gets more involved outside the pocket, cool. He has a good arm. His accuracy is pretty good. So we'll see. I mean, he's still a raw prospect. Like he might not put it all together. He just might not be cut out for the NFL. Who knows? I'm sure you hope he is for the as a Bears fan. He has obviously rushing upside.
I mean, he's arguably the best Bears quarterback in Bears history.
Yeah, but my point is not this is for sure. He said this is far off, but it's a one QB league. I don't care. Like I don't care who it is, unless it's like a top 4 guy that's like proven to be a monster for me. I'm not going to take a lot into the consideration in a trade in a one QB league. That's just not. It's just not how I view those trades. Like to me, like what is the difference between Matt Ryan and like I don't know Jalen
Justin
Hurts
Fields.
or
What's the
Jalen Hurts in a
what's the
1 QB
difference
league?
between Matt Ryan and Justin Fields?
Well, like let's look last year. Like for example, like Jalen Hurts was. I think like Jalen Hurts is a good comparison for Justin Fields. Like he averaged 21.6 points last year as a fantasy player, whereas like Carson Wentz was QB 14 for 16 points. Ryan Tannehill was for 16 points. Like I just don't think like they're that big of a huge of a difference. And Jalen Hurts is rushing all the time, where you don't really want that for longevity. Like it's just we'll see. And Jalen Hurts might not have a job for much longer. We'll see. He'd have to be averaging like 20, 25 points for me to really like him. 25 is pretty high, but 20. I just haven't seen it yet. And he doesn't have the weapons to do that right now. He'd have to do it all on the ground.
See, Rick knows
making my Watson point. The Watson point was in a super flex. I'm confused. Watson's longevity is way more certain than Fields or Hurts. Like that's not a good comparison for me. Making my Watson point again, I'm not sure. I'm confused on that one. I guess because like Watson not being a starter in 5 years is way more unlikely than Fields or Hurts not being a starter in 5 years. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, with the legal troubles that
I don't think so. I'm worried about that. But, okay, yeah, that's got to be all the legal troubles. But as an actual football player,
yeah, I'm with you.
Like for me, it's Watson has a way, 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 way higher potential to be a starter in the NFL as long as even if he has the legal troubles, he can come back. Mike Vick came back and was sweet. Watson could be in prison. I don't see that happening. I don't think there's.
Yeah, I agree with you that you factor that in. It's not a big part of the factor because it seems unlikely.
Yeah, if you take all the prison stuff, that's fine. While Rick and I both agree with pretty much everything tonight. Teams debate in order. Yeah, we'll see. When Watson ends up as like QB3 and plays the whole year, and Justin Fields is like QB22, and I guess Watson sucks. We'll see. We will see.
That would be an interesting bet, though. Just who scores more points end of season, Watson or Fields?
They play all games?
No, just who do you think scores more points right now?
I think Watson. You got to say, okay,
yeah. That's a good question, though. That's what I'm saying, because you don't know if he's going to miss some games. Even if he does, would he still outscore him? Probably.
More points the next 3-4 years combined. I'll take.
Oh no.
$1 million to Watson this year. He might get suspended. He might. That's still fine. He comes back in 2023 and still puts up more points than Justin Fields. It's fine. He might be an asset. Now I got Danny Dimes still too. I think Danny Dimes and Justin Fields would be a good comparison. Who scores more points, Danny Dimes or Justin Fields? Who do you think there?
I'd go with Fields, but it's close. It's close.
It's not great. It's not. I think that's a good comparison for Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think it's
right
close.
Now with his weapons, his experience.
Yeah,
the coaching, the new system, all that good stuff. I think that is a good comparison for Justin Fields.
I agree with you.
This upcoming season. So. Rick, we'll make some side bets. We'll see. Sunday mornings will be fun. Sunday mornings fun. We'll see. Alrighty, that's going to be it for us. I got to go to bed.
All right, good night, guys.
Right.
Thanks, Bryce.
Yeah, see ya.